Hi everyone, it's 10th of October 2024 and it's World Mental Health Day. Every one of us needs our mental health in check. And today I have my very good friend Kelvin Onoja with me today to discuss, just have a tea and talk about mental health and what leads to mental health and in a nutshell, everything that has to do with mental health. I hope you enjoy our little conversation. Kelvin is a nurse in the UK. He's a father. He's a husband. He's so many things. Okay. Maybe we can hear from him. Give us a little introduction about yourself, Kelvin.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelvin Onoja by name. I've been a nurse in the UK for over 2 years. I'm a proud father, husband, brother, friend, uncle.
Ooh.
The list is endless.
Ooh.
So I'm so happy to be here today with my friend Genevieve. Looking forward to a swell time with all of you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelvin. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll be having a little chat about mental health. When it comes to mental health, especially from our country, it's not what everybody takes really serious. I know some people do, but it's not. It has not gotten the awareness that it deserves. So I just want us to talk about letting people know what mental health is. If you can just explain it a little in a way that someone will understand it, not only for the health professionals, but laymen, how they will be able to understand what mental health. If you're trying to explain to a market woman or trying to explain to just in the simplest form, what is mental health for you?
Okay, thank you, Genevieve. Well, if we're going to take the word mental and health, two words merged together, when you're talking about the mental health of an individual, you're talking about all the components that forms the individual's mind, essentially the thought processes, their decision making, their thinking and everything. And health, how healthy is all the things involved in that process? Is there something wrong with the brain? Are certain hormones higher than others? Are certain neurochemicals more active, or are certain neuroreceptors less active or more active? All these things can influence an individual's ability to think and make decisions. So in essence, mental health is essentially an aspect of health that deals with the individual's ability to make decisions, to think and do day-to-day activities. And this can have varying variations from lesser cases to worse cases, and it all depends on what is presented.
So, from what you've explained, if I'm understanding it very well, not as a nurse, but as a young lady, it means that every single thing I do, every single decision I take, I do that because I'm healthy mentally. Is that what it means?
No, essentially, all I'm trying to say is if someone is mentally healthy, there are certain behaviors, general behaviors. If you're mentally healthy, ideally, you should be able to get up, groom yourself, and go out, go to work. Subject yourself to a certain period of hours during which you are expected to deliver nothing less than somewhat average, at least average professional behavior in whatever field you find yourself. So you are expected to deliver some level of service, and at the end of the month, you are expected to be paid for that service because there should be a contract guiding all these dimensions. But when an individual gets up, does not groom themselves, turns up at their place of work, one, looking shabby, and while they are at their place of work, they don't do the work for which they are paid. And they do this consistently with several queries and everything. And at the end of the month, they come and flounce around or pounce around the office like, I need my paycheck. Would you agree with me that individual is not mentally healthy?
I think I understand where you're going now. And if you look around us, you see that these things are actually happening. You see it every single day. But when you look at it, what do you say? What do you think is the cause of someone behaving in that way? Okay, let's say that I've understood that this person is not healthy mentally. So what could be leading this person to behave in such a way?
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. The causes of all this can be multifaceted. It could be drug abuse or misuse. Certain individuals who lack the discipline and restraint for basic things like alcohol could wake up in the morning and consume a bottle of wine, gin, vodka, whatever it is they medicate with. And That drug abuse is a symptom to something. Maybe they're traumatized by, I don't know what it could be anything, but that trauma, they're trying to use this alcohol to medicate and cope with that trauma. And they show up at work and do a shabby job, which their manager then tells them off, and it's a vicious cycle. Then they come home and they have the awareness that I did a shabby, shitty job, excuse my French, and they know I could have done better. But because of this, I was under the influence of alcohol or whatever it was, drugs or whatever, I didn't do a good job. So in that case, if you're addressing the alcoholism, that is just like taking care of the symptom. You should be working on the alcoholism with the aim of getting to the root cause, which might be the trauma. So then that is under the influence. There could be physical trauma to the brain. Someone hit their head and maybe they tend to forget. There was a research work I read where an individual had an accident and he lost the ability to problem solve, which we as adults, we've done our studies and we can marry the information to our day-to-day activities and try to problem solve. When you studied as a nurse anatomy and physiology and you studied pharmacology, the interaction of the body and the drugs, you could make deductions. And even when a doctor should write a prescription that seems outrageous, you could question that. So these processes align together, and then imagine losing that ability to problem solve, all because of an accident. So physical trauma could cause this, and emotional, psychological, like I said, it's a multifaceted problem. So whatever the individual is going through would have to be addressed by a trained psychologist or a psychotherapist who would be able to diagnose, and from then a treatment option or the most preferable treatment option can be established. For certain individuals, it's drug. For certain individuals, it has fundamental as having lifestyle changes. There are people who were depressed who were only told, go to the gym, and it was over for them. But of course, these are variations. There are levels to this. If someone is chronically, severely, clinically diagnosed as depressed, they will need medication. But if it is a mild form of depression or there's occasional mood changes and everything, going to the gym could just make the whole world of difference and prevent them from falling into that pit. So,
Okay, speaking of diagnosis, let's say that I have a bit of the signs or that you mentioned, and I don't actually know what is going on, and I want to have a name to what I'm experiencing. Who do I go to? How do I get a name for it, like a form of diagnosis?
okay, so the thing is, you have to work with a trained clinical psychologist or a psychotherapist. So you can do your research, go online. If you look online and type psychotherapist near me on things like Google or whatever app you use, maybe Safari or something, you will see within your locale people who are available. Then you can go and read their reviews or find a way to vet and audit all these people. So you don't go giving your money to somebody maybe who didn't even finish college and you're swindled. That is a possibility. But you should have your own system of finding a way to vet these people. That's one. Otherwise, there are some very popular sites. Like if you went to a site like BetterHelp, on BetterHelp, you get a therapy which you pay for. And any counselor or therapist, psychotherapist, or anyone who's offering these therapeutic services on BetterHelp is a trained psychologist or psychotherapist with certification. That's the only way you can be on BetterHelp. So if you feel, oh, I don't want to go through the hassle of going to someone's office to talk to them, then just go on BetterHelp. On BetterHelp, you can, by the way, BetterHelp does not pay or sponsor us for this program. It's just an example. So you can go on that and see for yourself and see, okay, will this work for me? If it doesn't work for you, then maybe you can liaise with them to recommend a psychologist or psychotherapist you want to see in person, if that is what you'd want. So the dynamics would be explored based on the situation, and you can just explore the dynamics from there and know what works for you depending on the peculiarity of your situation.
Okay. This is for people that actually know what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that they know that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They can't place their hands on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we as family members or friends are seeing that.
Good.
What do you think the friends and the family members' involvement should be?
Now, the tendency I've seen, because you and I were originally from Africa, we're from Nigeria, yeah? So there's this tendency to want to stigmatize. That is the most terrible thing that could happen to an individual, because sometimes they lack this self-awareness, like you mentioned, that something is wrong. So you as a family member can see, oh, he's wearing a sneaker and a pair of slippers. That is not right. Or imagine someone completely dressed and wears a pair of sneakers on the dressing, and the pair of sneakers is grey, but the suit or whatever he's wearing is blue. Grey on blue sneakers. Something is
That can
totally
work actually. Some fashion freaks can combine any.
okay. Yes,
Yeah.
maybe that is not a good analogy,
Yeah.
but for instance, a pair of slippers to the workplace.
Okay, let me give you a perfect. Let me not a perfect instance, but let's say that I have a younger sister who I know is always outgoing and is what I would consider her personality to be an
Extrovert.
extrovert. Yeah, and all of a sudden she's quiet,
Mm-hmm.
wants to sleep all day,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of things like that.
Yes,
And I
so
know that something is not right. Yeah.
so and the first thing is, don't assume, yeah. Try to ask. Maybe it might be an episodic tiredness or exhaustion. Oh, I've been doing a couple of night shifts. I'm just tired. But if you ask and she's like, no, I feel fine, or she gets defensive, then you know something is afoot. With all due respect, you are not trained now, because we're talking about the layman when you have nursing experience, so you will know how to meander that situation. But with someone who is not trained, you can sense something is wrong. Somehow you just feel it, your gut feeling, your sixth sense tells you something is wrong, but you can't pinpoint it, and you're not trained to pinpoint it. So what's the best thing to do? If you see that deterioration going on, try to talk to someone. And the someone you talk to, like I mentioned earlier, a psychotherapist, a psychoanalyst, and just try to say, okay, there's this cool thing we're doing online. She will know it's better help, hopefully. Just be like, you know what, there's this cool dude I'm talking to online. Do you mind joining me? I want you to join me on this call. It's a way to usher in that conversation. So to get her on board with it and see, what does it feel like? Maybe when you usher her in and she says, okay, I don't want my sister to be there, I want to talk to you alone, and you leave the room, she might open up to the therapist or counselor or whoever it is, and that might serve as the first step in this journey towards recovery. I use the word journey because it's different for everyone. Some people, 3 months, the whole thing is history. But for some people, it will take years with episodes of exacerbation and remission, recession. It worsens, it gets better. Their period, they go back. So it's a journey. So at least that first step is something. And with that first step, there could be an awareness, the eye opening, the proverbial Adam eating the fruit in the garden and Eve eating the fruit. Their eyes were opened. Even the Bible said this. So where am I going with this? At least that awareness creation might play a huge role towards treatment, because some individuals lack this awareness that something is wrong. But when they have that awareness, then treatment can be better effective, because they are now willing to accept that, okay, something is wrong. Hopefully this medication or this lifestyle modification can fix this. I know something is wrong and I don't know what to do. Hopefully this might help. They're not even sure what you're doing will help, but at least they're willing to now try because they accept something is wrong. Unlike someone not accepting something is wrong, leave me alone, I just want to sleep, go away. And sometimes they can just break down in tears. And if you're overly compassionate, you just, oh, I don't want to hurt them. But no, that tears just solve the problem now, which is you. They don't want you in their face, because genuinely a part of them doesn't know what is wrong or doesn't even know something is wrong with them. They feel we're trying to label them. But if you find a way to persist and maybe try again later, you're better off for it than having someone degenerate slowly before your very eyes. And it's a very sad sight.
Thank you very much, Kelvin. I think from the conversation, we've been able to establish what crosses mental health. However, I want to still know if there are certain factors that predisposes someone to having mental illness. What I mean is, are there certain things, some mental health conditions can be self-imposed. Other ones are what you are not even aware of.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to ask. Are there certain predisposing factors that individuals are not aware of that can lead to mental illness?
Beautiful question you asked there, Genevieve. There are a lot of factors. So the thing is, there are predisposing factors and there are triggers. So if a predisposed individual is exposed to a trigger, mental health illness can set in. I know a gentleman, a young guy. We met one time in the gym sometime, a couple of years ago. And he told me, he said his grandfather battled anxiety. His father battled anxiety. Guess what? He's battling anxiety. There is no magic trick there. It's somewhere in their gene. And I told him, I said, I don't know your family, yeah? But from this short conversation you've told me, I can bet if you don't combat this anxiety, get the therapy you need, I don't know what you're going to do. If you would listen to me, I'd advise you get therapy. But different people react to therapy. Some people feel if I'm going to get therapy, I'm broken. You're not. So he felt like if he gets therapy, it's weak. He felt like I'm a man. I do martial arts and everything. I said, you are using the martial arts and whatever you're doing to mask this. He said he can't sleep. He finds it difficult to sleep. So that, and what is he anxious about? He's now thinking of things that are not even possible. I won't say they're not possible. He's thinking of hypothetical situations like, what if someone picks the lock, breaks into my house and rapes my mom, robs the house and leaves? He subjects himself to these thoughts at midnight, 2 a.m. onwards, and then he can't sleep. So what does he do? He starts working out, and he takes pride in the fact that he has a ripped, jacked body. I said, I'm not criticizing the body, but at some point, your mind will turn on you, and you will not recognize yourself when you look in the mirror. So it's only you're degenerating slowly but surely. So you have to get help. Of course, it was just a one-time meetup, and I'm a very spontaneous, vibrant person. So for him to open up that much, we didn't exchange contacts or anything. It was just a conversation, and that ended there. But what was I trying to bring out there? Genetics play a huge role. Aside genetics, over time, some environmental factors can play a huge role. I'll use myself for example. When I came from Nigeria, I used to be this huge hustle bustle, bubbly guy. Every Nigerian has that vibe, especially if you stayed in Lagos. Something happened when I came here. I lived in a small English village called Housestead. So when I moved into Housestead, I didn't have any connections, any contacts, and it was genuinely lonely. A lot of loneliness was there. I was doing night shifts, come back after night shift. I was always indoors. I didn't know anyone. I managed to download the pizza app, and the pizza guy drops the pizza at the door. I want to have a conversation. He's off. The only time I saw living human beings were at the care home at night shift. So sometimes it was my resident, sometimes it was my carers. And my carers could not talk to me all night because they had to do their jobs. I had to do my job as well. So I really, really craved that connection. So thank God I had grit and perseverance. That could have pushed me into depression very, very easily because always I'd come back to an empty house. And slowly I started developing coping mechanisms, which were in some way unhealthy. I would want to delay my going home. By all means, I finished everything I should have finished, but I want to linger around. So sometimes I would procrastinate on some things I should do to the point where I start doing them after my shift, after handover. So at least I can see other human beings. And as soon as I'm coming home, I'm calling my mom. I was calling my mom every day for close to 2 years. Every single day I'm coming home, she has no joy. It's her full-time job. I tell her, your phone, your data must never be off. I call you, you have to answer. So she was a crutch. It wasn't a healthy, because there was no boundaries. She could want to do anything. I couldn't care less. I'm closing from work. She has to be there. Only on my days off, I had to now force myself. But when I sat down and I spoke to myself, I'm using my mom as a crutch. I'm not doing well at work because now I'm staying after this thing and I'm not being paid for that. So what did I do? I now got myself signed up at the gym. And at the gym, I now made friends who were interested in certain aspects of life as I was. Fitness. Okay, good. Then that confidence from the gym snowballed and I got myself back. I came to visit you. I went around the UK. I started seeing people I wanted to see again. And that created that feeling of camaraderie, which was what I wanted. So as much as that could have, I'm lucky I had the grit and perseverance to overcome that. Someone else, easily, that environmental factor could have played a role. Then all these factors, it boils down to what is going on exactly and whether, like for instance, the dynamics of whether the environmental factor plus the predisposition. Probably if this anxious guy was in my shoes, he would do a night shift and not sleep and come home and not still sleep because he's scared that I live alone now. If someone breaks in to rob me, they will come in to me alone and I'll be defenseless. So he won't sleep after the night shift and he goes back to work, still losing sleep. He commits blunders and errors And well, we all know how that ends. Not good. So there are different factors, and like I said, it's a multifaceted problem. It depends on the peculiarity of the individual in front of me, or in front of the psychoanalyst, psychotherapist, who then proceeds to, try to ask certain questions. If you look at the word psychotherapy, it's just talk therapy. So someone is laying down, sometimes laying down on a couch. The psychotherapist is with his pen and pad. He's asking questions. Are you having dreams? Yeah, what dreams are you having? What thoughts of anxiety are you having? And he's making notes, he's making deductions from what you are saying. And even when sometimes he makes a deduction, he'll try to validate that deduction. If I get what you're saying correctly, that means A plus B equals C. And you too, in that sphere, can start to see, because I have friends who have been to psychotherapy. One of my friends told me one time, he just walked into the session and just told the psychotherapist, I hate my wife. Then the psychotherapist was like, okay. As much as he wanted to take that back, he said it into the atmosphere. Then the psychotherapist was like, okay, what do you hate about her? He said, I don't really hate her, but I hate that she does this thing. Do you see? Then from that hating this thing, why do you hate that thing? I hate it because I could see my father nag my mom about it. So somehow it had nothing to do with the wife. It was because of something he saw his parents battle about. Now the wife has to deal with that dynamic in their marriage. So all these things, apart from being genetically transmittable, the trauma of seeing, hearing, or experiencing certain things predisposes an individual to these things as well. So like I said, it's very multifaceted. The peculiarity of the individual involved plays a huge role.
Wow. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. Let's take people who are introverts, for an instance,
Okay.
and doesn't want to speak to anybody and wants to sort things out. You know how they are keen on their independence and doing things for themselves. What do you have to say about that with regards to mental illness? Do you think it's a help to them, or sorting themselves out by themselves, or it's a harm to them by not reaching out for help?
If you're talking about being introverted or extroverted, that is of importance, but it doesn't play a role in the fact that human beings are gregarious. No matter what we do, we should not denigrate social structures. Integration and social interaction is there for a reason. By the time you are part of a group, what does that guarantee in prehistoric times? What in ancient times when human beings were cavemen? If you were part of a group, you could huddle together for warmth. It wasn't an issue of anything, sex, gender, or anything. You could huddle together for genuine warmth. You could forage for food together. You could fend off a predator in a group. But when you were an individual, you were ostracized. You could die from the elements. Even if you were equipped to protect yourself, you could only fend off so many predators. And there's only so much food you can forage for. As an introvert, you're already averse naturally to have that intention to want to absorb things, and you don't want to be a burden. And slowly but surely, it might connote or correlate with not setting boundaries, because since you don't want to be a burden, you want to do everything to please this person, so they just leave your space. Sometimes, I'm not always saying all introverts are people pleasers. Some know how to set good boundaries. So what you should do is, one, know that in as much as I want my space to recharge, because those are introverts. Extroverts can recharge in the midst of people. They need people to recharge. So in as much as you want to withdraw to recharge, know that there is something about human connection. It is one of the pyramids or pinnacles for a healthy life, in social interaction to some degree. So then you have to decide what should qualify this level of social interaction. Who can I liaise with? Because during that interaction process, some corrections can be made. A simple nudge, you're doing something that is out of place. A friend steps on your toe. No one else possibly saw that, especially under a coffee table. You're about to say something. A friend nudges you on the knee. These little gestures help to realign and remodify behavior. And if you don't have somebody or individuals in your life to give you these cues, what happens? You can just go and derail. Even in life in general, no matter how good your intentions were, sometimes some things can be misinterpreted. And so the best way is to even avoid getting into that situation in the first place, if possible, rather than getting into it and navigating it. So As an introvert, I would not advise you stay and try to absorb or figure it out on your own. If you sense something is wrong, it is worthwhile finding someone you trust and say, I think I'm struggling with this. I don't think it's a problem, but this is the extent to which. Do you get? So one thing, it has to be someone you trust, because when you talk to people, two things happen. If you talk to someone you are at peace with, you know has your back. You are at peace. You are not worried. If you talk to someone you are not certain of their intentions, you're not worried. Can this person weaponize this information against me? Can this person go and start casting this information? Do you get? In a way to defame my image? And now there's anxiety. So if you are talking to the right person, you should feel the peace of, okay, push comes to shove, I will either find a solution, and if I don't, I'm not concerned about what the status of this information will become. So also consider that there are some people who are good friends, but you know they are lacking in the resources, the knowledge with which to address your situation. Then the best option is you have to find someone who is better equipped with the skill set or the tool set with which to strip everything you are facing down to the middle and just address it.
To be honest, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
I'm really happy we're having this conversation.
Same here.
However, I want to ask, everything you've been saying, it all boils down to getting help and speaking to somebody and or whatnot. What if I seek for help and I don't feel that I'm being helped? What should I do?
You feel your problem has not been given the attention it deserves. The truth is, we're all humans and we all have our limits. The moment you realize this, it is sad, annoying, but also empowering if you look at it from the perfect perspective. So, at least you can identify, I have a problem and I know it needs solving. Hopefully, it can be solved. So, what do? If you tried and you fall flat on your face, you get to try again. But one thing is, you're not trying again from start afresh from scratch. You're trying again with a bit of experience. Now, you know I don't believe someone who went through school to study psychology, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, that individual studied all these things, they would have something, at least the bare minimum, to offer. So if you have that bare minimum, whenever you are interacting with your next therapist, hopefully, you can have a system to vet that, okay, at least this guy knew this, he didn't know this. It wasn't a complete failure. So this is what I really need. I think I need, because even you might not be certain. So at least when you're vetting the next psychotherapist, psychologist, or whoever you're vetting, from the interaction with them, you can see if they are outside what this guy is offering. If they can identify, okay, I'll do this, I would have done this, but this will not be effective, for instance. And that was what the other guy was doing. And now they are suggesting something that may be more, nobody's going to force you that, okay, you must attend all your psychotherapy sessions with me. Nobody can restrain you like that. But the best option is to have that grit and keep going to get the help you need. Because one of the motivations you should always have is that you're not helping you alone. If someday you intend to have children, you're helping a whole generation combat whatever it is you are dealing with. So it becomes something beyond you. And if you could succeed in dealing with it from yourself, hopefully the person you end up marrying doesn't have to battle with it. But if they were battling with it, you are now equipped with the tool set, with the toolbox of tools, skills with which to tackle this issue or wait for them to get help. You now know somebody who can give adequate help. Then, if you guys combat it, you can bring wonderful, healthy children who hopefully, under your guidance and tutelage, with you and your partner, wife, husband, can raise these children to become amazing adults. And we can see the impact on society. It's glaring on the street. I don't think anybody goes up and say, oh yeah, you know what, I'm going to be a drug addict. Yeah, I'm going to just rock this drug addict world. At some point, I can bet there is a strong chance that drug addict saw someone, maybe their father, mother. I'm not saying it's always the case. They saw someone they looked up to, maybe an uncle, and they just emulated that. if you could combat this anxiety, addiction, whatever it is, and you still try, because you might fail a few times, but hopefully you find the right therapist for you and you succeeded, your child will never have to battle with addiction. And he would be aware later in the future that, oh, my dad battled with addiction, but that was long ago. I never saw him. So he would have no context of reference. So that should be motivation enough. But probably until maybe they become parents, they won't know the gravity of those things. Some people don't.
I totally agree with you. I think as adults, we have to learn to be selfless, because if you don't get help, you are being selfish.
True.
There are people that are looking up to you.
True.
If you decide to have a family,
Hmm.
you can't give what you don't have,
No.
and you end up breeding children that are emotionally unstable.
True.
And I think is also among the predisposing factor to mental illness. So
Mm-hmm.
I understand and I appreciate what you just said. If you're not getting the help you need, that's selfish. Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
selfish.
Thank you very much, Kelvin. I
Mm-hmm.
think all I have in store has been dealt with. You have spoken so well. You have gone through all my questions.
Mm-hmm.
You have touched them in all areas, even though it didn't come directly the way I would have wanted to ask the questions. But in summary, you've touched every aspect I wanted you to touch. So thank you so much, Kelvin.
You're
It
welcome,
was a
Genevieve.
wonderful conversation, and I hope we do this sometime soon. Thank you. And viewers, enjoy a little talk about mental health. If you're out there and you feel something is not right, you feel that you need to speak to somebody, don't shy away. Just speak to someone. It must not be in a formal setting, but make sure you speak up, seek help on time. And if it's not working out, then get proper help from people trained and certified to give help to mental illnesses. So it's not something you should shy away from. It's not
At all.
something you should stigmatize anybody. Everyone is going through something. Every single one of us is dealing with something. Always speak about it. Always research on how best to manage it, and don't go about saying this is who I am. People should take me
No.
the way I
No.
am. That's a selfish statement. Always try to be the better version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode. Thank you.